Drums, please.
Hey everybody, C.Note here, and welcome to DOPEamine, the show that is all about personal empowerment and helping you unlock your potential. Today on the show, I want to talk to you about it's been 1 year, basically, since I started doing this in a more focused, concentrated way. And I want to talk about the updates in sort of like process, philosophy, goals, mission, and sort of like the rules that I'm starting to formulate around this channel, around who I'm expecting to be in here, who I would like in here, and some of the business side of things, and sharing some of just really my personal thoughts on where the channel's going and what we can do going forward. So it's going to be a little bit self-focused, but if you're interested in this channel and where we're going, this is a good video to just kind of, feel like you're part of this community. And really, that's one of the first things that I want to focus on is continuing to build and nurture community around YouTube. YouTube has been basically the place that I've gotten the most engagement, the most feedback, and the most growth. We just hit 3,000 subscribers, which is a huge deal. Not something I thought we could do in a year, but that's amazing. And it really was about, persistence, consistency, and trying to come up with good, interesting content that was related to my story and related to how I can help you grow as a INTP and then other personality types. So while this channel is focused on INTPs and it's going to continue to be focused on INTPs, I want to continue to help people grow at all facets of life in different areas and, whatever kind of comes to mind, whatever I become interested or attracted to. I'm reading all sorts of different books all the time. I'm consuming a lot. In the objective personality space, I'm probably a consumer first, which is something I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a future video about combining systems, because I've been recently learning about objective personality, and some of that stuff's probably going to work its way into this channel in some shape or form. I like plucking things from different systems, and that's part of the future of this channel, is to be able to take some of these systems and show how we can take these little bits and pieces and apply them to our identity, right? It's not about submitting ourselves to one ideal or submitting ourselves to one thought process, but how we as INTPs can continue to nurture our own independent thought, and how I can help you nurture your own independent thought to, not just be so rigid about being right or wrong about something, black and white, but it's, that there are nuances and questions to ask and more ideas to explore as INTPs. So I want to encourage that. I want to continue to grow. So like I mentioned in the last few videos, there's going to be some changes in terms of the formula on this show. And since YouTube has been working so well, I'm basically going to be doing the podcast on YouTube and then putting the audio version on the audio feed on DOPEamine. So you can find that on our website at dopeamine.life to subscribe to your favorite podcast channel. And I'm still going to throw in some little nuggets here and there that are unique to the podcast experience. But for the most part, I really like doing this format. I talk for an hour, once a week. It's good therapy for me. It's a good way to get, just kind of talk without fear of judgment and just, get my thoughts and philosophies out there. So that's a big part of the process for me. And I'm going to keep moving forward with that, because that's been probably the biggest help of not only having a YouTube channel, but having had a podcast for a few years now. It's been about my expression, and I want to continue to be a beacon for INTPs to look towards and say oh, this guy's doing it. I can do something like that too. I can talk on camera. I can share my ideas, and I can develop the bravery to share my ideas, whether or not they're going to be right or wrong, right? Because there's plenty I've gotten wrong, I'm sure, over the course of my career as a podcaster, as a YouTuber, trying to educate, trying to support, trying to philosophize. My identity is changing all the time. My awareness of what is right and wrong and helpful and the spectrum of everything in between is always evolving and changing and growing. So I want to encourage that and not be embarrassed by that. Sometimes it's embarrassing, but it's fine. We move forward. It's about encouraging you to just keep creating and keep making and keep talking and sharing and asking questions, right? You're not a static person. You're not an INTP in terms of like this singular identity. There's more to you than that. There's more. There's your upbringing. There's your communities you've been involved in life, your religious affiliation, your political affiliation, possibly. Those are things that get embedded into people's identities over time. And a lot of things in between or external to that as well, right? Like, I don't have a religious or political ideology necessarily, but there are bits and pieces that I pluck from those things that help me become, really define aspects of who I am. But those things are always molding and changing and shifting. So that's really that's my experience as an INTP. Though I know other INTPs, can be a little bit more rigid. But I think I'm trying to attract more INTPs that think in the space that I do a little bit more, that are a little bit more fluid in their thinking, a little bit more exploratory. And I want to encourage you that that's okay to do, that it's okay to be positive as an INTP. Like, being an INTP doesn't mean you're going to be like a shrill person. Like, that's not a destiny as an INTP. Being an INTP is not a death sentence, and it's about empowerment. That's why I talk about personal empowerment. That's been the biggest shift really in the last few days, is going from mental health empowerment, which is important, to personal empowerment. Because I think personal empowerment is a little bit easier to understand, whereas mental health empowerment was, I have to wade through people assuming that I'm talking about mental illness all of the time. And while there's aspects of that I do talk about, because it's a very real part of my experience as an INTP with cyclothymia and ADHD, stuff that I deal with, there are aspects of life that are not that. And really, I want to encourage people to grow and take personal responsibility to be personally empowered. That's what empowerment means to me, is taking personal responsibility for your growth. I want to encourage that for anybody across the board, and show that it's possible for anyone across the board. Life has external circumstances. We have internal circumstances that make things difficult. But at the end of the day, we can always find something to be empowered by, something to be able to plant our feet around and be able to go forward with. So that's one of the important philosophies. I'm going to keep talking about personality typology, but I'm going to be expanding too. I want to talk more about spiral dynamics-based ideas, Enneagram ideas. I want to talk about a little bit about objective personality, because I've just been learning that. Chakras, I think, are valuable. There's even aspects of astrology that are valuable, which I know is really I don't buy into it in terms of a belief system, but I think astrology or tarot cards or something like that is no different than looking at yourself in a mirror and being prompted by what you see. So sometimes reading a description of something or seeing a tarot card can be a way of prompting you, how do I feel today based on what I see or what I know about what this card means. It's not a destiny. It's not a predetermined, fact of what's happening. A lot of personality psychology is not that either. A lot of it is about, prompts and what things make us feel, and, learning about ourselves through the bounce back of external experiences with other people and other things. So that's why I want to introduce all of these really esoteric ideas, because they allow for a more complete experience. Now, personality is going to be something I continue to do. Personality is something I offer in terms of personality profiling. I want to help people figure out their personality type, because it is valuable. It is valuable to know who you are so that you can recalibrate when life is stretching you too thin, right? When you're being pulled in opposite directions, I want you to be able to feel when there's a difference. It's kind of like when you're used to eating processed foods and suddenly you start eating cleaner foods. When you go back to processed foods, you're suddenly oh, that doesn't feel good at all. How did I get used to that? And really, it's just awareness, so creating awareness of your unconscious, awareness of your personality type, awareness of where you need to grow, and how maybe some of the things in your life are your fault and how some things might not be your fault. That is really a good calibration point. So personality profiling is the main thing I'm going to be offering on this channel, but there's more to it than that. I do coaching as well, and I want to coach around various other ideas, concepts, and topics, including creative expression. And spiral dynamics is helpful for that, knowing how you express in the world, how you want to share your thoughts, and other type systems that I come across. I want to share those things and how they can integrate into personal growth opportunities. Because really, this is a personal development channel first. This is not a personality channel, even though I talk about personality a lot. And specifically talk to INTPs, because you're my audience. That's really that's why. That's why I reference INTPs. But the topics go beyond that. I've been reading Integral Psychology, and it's a Ken Wilber book, and he's basically talking about spiral dynamics and all of these concepts of how psychology integrates at different stages of personal development, and in relation to like the modern age versus pre-modern age. And things like personality psychology have been around for about 100 years, but it doesn't mean that personality archetypes have only been understood for the last 100 years. There's more to it than that. We've been understanding personality in storytelling and literature, spirituality, rituals. There have been intelligent people in the past. We're not the only intelligent human beings that have ever existed. So it's about getting into some of that stuff too. Just getting into like the more interesting bits. But personality in the book, Integral Psychology, is literally like 2 pages. He talks about Enneagram and personality types in terms of Myers-Briggs. And he's like, that stuff's useful and it's interesting, but they are horizontal models. And which is why I talk about them in a way that it's about calibration, because you're going to keep growing as a person. You're going to keep, experiencing new environments, new people, new changes. But this is a way for you to know when you're stretched way too thin. Because you're supposed to stretch yourself, right? You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to do things when you don't feel like it sometimes, and give yourself adequate self-care. But at the same time, it's about the balance between those things. And so if you get stretched so thin that you're working yourself to the bone and not doing any self-care at all, there are specific ways that each personality type does self-care the best for themselves, because you get the energetic hit from doing what is genuinely relaxing to you. So if I do 2 or 3 days of reading books and I don't talk at all, that's eventually going to be draining. It's enlightening, it's exciting, it gives me that sense of self-care to consume and to think and to work through stuff in my head. But after a while, that's only going to go so far. Now I have to find a way to start talking. I have to share those ideas. I have to do something with them to get the other side of that coin, right? So it's that balance between, that stress of pushing yourself versus the self-care aspect. Because you can push self-care too far and it starts to not work anymore. And you actually get energy from doing something. And then you get energy from self-care. And it's this balance back and forth. In a lot of ways, it's the introvert-extrovert balance, but there's more to it than that. Cognitive functions help with that. I'm going to talk about cognitive functions more on this channel as the channel evolves as well. So I'm going to get into more advanced stuff. I asked you guys on a poll on YouTube about what you want to see more on this channel, and you said that I could share whatever I want, which is great. Thank you for that. But mostly you also said that you would like more advanced stuff and cognitive functions. And I feel like I've been holding back. I've been trying to keep things simple because I've underestimated you. I'm going to be honest about that. I was not expecting for everyone to come to me for that or be interested in more advanced opportunities and more advanced thinking and learning. So I needed to allow myself to give myself permission to start doing that. So year 2 of DOPEamine on YouTube is going to be more about more advanced stuff, more about sharing those things. And I also want to get into a place where I'm encouraging and nurturing a community, because I do have some of my own philosophies around personality. I think mistyping is inappropriate if not requested. So if you see someone in the comments and you're just like, they're saying they're an INTP, but the way that they react is that you think they're an INFP, and you're like, that's so INFP of you. Like, I find that to be inappropriate, and I don't tolerate it in the comments of this channel. I don't tolerate belittling. I don't tolerate abuse. I don't tolerate someone coming to my channel and continuing to try to tell me I'm wrong instead of going somewhere else and learning about what they want to learn about. Because you're not going to change my mind necessarily unless you ask me questions and we have a conversation. But if you just call me an idiot, then I'm going to save you from yourself and block you from the channel so you can go do something else. Because you're getting distracted by trying to want to prove me right and to prove me wrong and prove you right. That you're becoming insufferable and toxic, right? So I don't want that on this channel. I don't want those people on this channel. And I also don't want people who are hyper casually watching these videos. What I mean is there's a certain brand of personality work that is it's not theoretical or not even playful. It's like stereotypical. It's like stereotyping in a hurtful way. No different than like gender, race, creed, all of that stuff. Like where someone's like, oh, you're an INTP, so you must be one of them absent-minded professor idiot types. And it's like, no, man, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing here. We're just not doing that. I'm not going to do these vague guesses as to like, what city INTPs belong in or something. Like it doesn't, we're not, I don't want to talk about personality types in stereotypical fashion. I don't want to talk about, and I don't want to encourage that. I want people to share their story the same way that I'm sharing my story. I'm going to give you advice, and there's going to be some ways in which I generalize, but I'm usually going to try to provide some disclaimer about that, right? Because any generalization that I say or share is in service of you taking that and saying like, okay, yeah, that is me, or no, that isn't quite me. And it's your responsibility to, suss that out. But I'm going to do my part as well to be clear about, what is my experience versus what I've literally seen and experienced in other INTPs. I'm not just throwing conjecture your way. I am basing this on my personal experience with other INTPs at events, at other in-person experiences where they know that they are INTPs and we are having conversations about being INTPs. So that's part of the authority that I bring to the table is that experience. There are a lot of INTPs that have not met many other INTPs. And I've experienced this at those events where they're like, I've never even met another INTP before. This is really cool. So that's part of this, is exposing you to a different brand of INTP, which is me, and encouraging you to be curious about each other, because there are things about being INTPs that are unique to each INTP, right? You're not just like agreeing in a way that is self-limiting. And, I see that on Reddit all the time, right? Is like this idea of, well, I'm an INTP, so I'm a loser and I'm just going to be that way forever. And that's just not true. Like there have been successful INTPs like that. I don't know why you're the exception to that. It's the other way around. It's like the successful INTPs are not the exception to the rule. It's just that a lot of INTPs are not following the rule. So I want to encourage you to grow in that way and be able to see yourself as someone who not only has potential, but is able to currently learn skills to push yourself, to get out of your comfort zone, and to use some of these tools of personality, of spiral dynamics, of all these other things to be able to, grow yourself as a person. So in a sense, that's the mission of DOPEamine, is to be able to encourage personal growth, to encourage empowerment. And even if you do coaching with me, if you do personality profiling, which usually comes with some sort of coaching, the idea is like, I don't want to keep you on the hook. I'm not continuously trying to coach you for years and years and years. I want to coach you through some of the difficult stuff that you're dealing with right now, that you're stuck in, and get you dislodged from that so that you can, encourage yourself to grow and go forward. I don't want to just keep you in this place, right? The idea is that you join a community, you get what you need out of it, and then you move on. So it's okay if you move on from this channel eventually. You move on from, what I am saying, what I offer, what I philosophize about, because you're going to move past me at some point. And I'm going to move past myself and probably end this channel at some point in the future. It might not be for a few years, but that's part of growth. And there's I accept that, and I want that. I want you to grow. I want you to develop, and I want you to combine different theories. I don't want you to just be on this channel. I want you to go check out Personality Hacker. I want you to go check out Objective Personality. I want to check out, go check out my friend Joyce, who's doing great interviews. Joyce Meng. She's doing really great interviews with all different personality types to sort of just share their experiences. And I'm going to, try to highlight different channels and hopefully do interviews. And, there's the sky's the limit. There's a lot that this channel can get to. But I mostly wanted to point out that I want growth-minded people in this community. I want you to ask questions. I want you to provide me feedback if something resonates or doesn't resonate, like authentic, critical, helpful feedback, constructive criticism, which I'll probably do a video on. But if you're just here to say like, oh, I don't like your eyes, I'm like, I can't do anything about my eyes, man. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help the channel. You're just being a jerk. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to get rid of jerks. Don't worry. I'm watching. I'm aware. I'm on it. So don't worry about it. So I think that covers a decent amount of what's coming in the future. The past year has been really fantastic. I did not expect to be doing this for this long. To do these videos it's been fun. It's been interesting. I love getting the feedback from you. I love being able to do this and support INTPs. I keep a folder of my favorite comments so that when I'm having a rough day, I will go through them and remind myself that I'm doing something for a reason and I'm actually affecting people and I'm not just spinning my wheels. And I want to keep doing that. I think that's your feedback is helpful in that way. And as this continues to grow, I want to keep taking your ideas. I want to keep sharing big ideas. I want us to push each other. I want to push you. And, we're just going to live our best life. That's really all we're trying to do. So with that said, go to DOPEamine.life, link below. You can go check out the podcast. We've got articles. And if you want a profiling session or if you want to send a friend to get profiled, I would love to. I love talking to people. I love being able to help them figure out their personality type because it makes me feel valuable as a profiler, but it also, the sense of relief that people feel and feeling this idea of like, there was pre-profiling life and then there was post-profiling life. A friend of ours has said that. It's like, it's really amazing to feel that you have an impact like that. And I want to keep doing that. So send people my way. I would love that. And there's more on the website. There's links below. Join our email list for more on your personality type. And there's more complex stuff coming. I'm going to talk more about cognitive functions, mixing personality type systems, and just maybe the just kind of random thing I learn every once in a while, just to test the waters and see what's interesting. So if you like what I have to say, you like my voice, you like my whatever, you can like and subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a rating and review on our podcast. And that's it. So I feel like there's more, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm done, I guess. I don't know. So I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I'll catch you next time on DOPEamine. See ya.